Hey, pop stars. Welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's episode is brought to you by Family Affair Cleaning Services. Got a mess you need cleaned up? Allow us to take care of it for you. If you need someone, something done up, we'll get the job done nice and neat. For more information on all our packages of service, check us out at familyaffair.clean. Mention the wind down and get a discount. Huh. Tammy, you ever need cleaning services? You ever think about hiring a cleaner?
I don't never need somebody done up, so no,
Never?
no, not enough to hire someone to do it for me.
Oh, well, I'd always like someone to come clean my house. Never know. Have someone on standby to help you clean up those messes that get made. um, um, anyway, this week we meet Gil Boksoon, a single mother trying to balance the demands of a busy career, all while trying to bridge the gap with her teenage daughter. Both mother and daughter recognize that other is going through something, but aren't quite sure how to get them to open up and talk about what is troubling them and causing a chasm in their relationship. Tammy, what did you think of Gil Boksoon or Kill Boksoon? Was it a killer family drama or a death by a thousand cuts?
um, you said a death by a thousand cuts.
Yeah, like think about like a paper cuts, like slow, painful.
Oh shit. I would say it gave me John Wick vibes. She was kicking ass. She was kicking ass. She definitely earned her nickname of Kill Boksoon, and that she was the best in the business and nobody could beat her. So it was really enjoyable to watch. Like at first I was just like, wait, what is going on here? But I got into it and you realize like the nuance of some of the scenes. So I enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I always love a great story, and I always love a good action flick, especially one with a kick-ass female protagonist. And like you said, there was some nuance in the story, and I love the take on it. I love that her relationship dilemma wasn't about how to balance the her life um, and the person she was trying to keep safe and lived this secret life from wasn't a man. It wasn't about that type of relationship. It was about the person that she loved the most, her daughter, and trying to keep her safe. And, you know, and her daughter's at that age where she's going through her own just teenage drama and her teenage shit and trying to figure out everything, who she is, who she wants to be, dealing with the darkness that's within her and not quite sure where it's coming from. Like they did a really, really good job with all of that. So I love that, and I also love, I ain't mad at her for getting her cougar on with the young hottie, you know. Um, so Gil Boksoon was just kick ass. Like she was gold. I'm like shit. So I figure like when I watch movies, I either think in the next life I want to be one or two type of people. I either want to be the badass assassin or the badass spy. So yeah, I know there's a big chasm between the two, like a big stretch, but
Yeah.
um I could do either or. I could do either or. Sometimes the assassin is the spy. You never know. But yeah. So I love the storytelling and I love the different take. And you're right. It did give John Wick vibes. Um, so what did you think about her daughter in their relationship? Like, did you like that at first? Yeah. Go ahead. I'll ask one question at a time.
um See, I always have the mindset of just like the culture that I grew up in. Like my first thought is always her daughter needed her ass beat, right? Like that's always my first thought. Like she needed a black mama beating. But then when you really think about it and their culture and just her job and how she was raising her daughter, which was different from how she was raised, I liked her daughter because I don't think necessarily it was her daughter having like darkness in her. I think it was more on her being just a teenager. Like I felt like that is teenagers today. Like she was so angst. Is it angsty?
Yeah.
She was so angsty. Like, oh my gosh. And I was just like, girl, if you don't get your, did you just slam the door? Oh, heck. Like that was my mindset. But I will say, I was cheering for her daughter when she stabbed that boy in the neck. I was like, give her an award. Go take her out for some ice cream. Give her some ice cream. Okay, because that little boy deserved it. He deserved to be taken out. I'm just saying. But overall, if I just take away like my mindset of like culture, I liked her daughter. I did like her daughter. She was a typical teenager.
Excuse me. Sorry. Felt like I was going to have to, felt like we might have to stop and start over or edit that part out. Felt like I was about to belch. Excuse me. Sorry, pop stars. Um, but I agree. Like, at first I thought, God, and I guess that's where the nuance comes in. Because at first I thought, oh gosh, we have another angsty, emo, annoying ass kid, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, fucking hell.
Like, come
Um,
on.
yeah, like no. And then like that's and like I said, this is where the nuance comes in because you realize her daughter. Like I love the B story with her daughter, how they gave her her own life, her own set of issues, and you actually understood the angst. It wasn't just about her being going having her first love and her first heartbreak. It was really about her figuring out who she was. Like her trying to find a way. And when she figured out that, okay, this isn't just a fling with my best friend who is a girl, it's not just us pretending or, doing it because it's cute or just because we want to experiment. Like, I really do like girls, I'm really gay. Then how do I, next thing is, how do I tell this to my mom? And so, that angst was a lot of it was coming from her living with that secret or carrying the weight of that around with her. Because after she told her mom, if you notice, she kind of became a different person. Like it was just like, wow, like this whole weight, you could just see like the weight had been lifted, and it took some of that tension away from their relationship. She also knew that her mom was holding something back from her, and it wasn't just the typical parents don't tell their kids everything shit. It was real. She could tell it was something deeper. And so I did. Once you really got into her daughter's story, I loved her daughter too, and I thought, wow, I love the way that they did it, the way they told the story, and I agree with you. Homeboy needed his like she did good, like she did good because isn't it? Didn't they say if she would have just hit the artery a little bit differently, he would have bled out or something? Like
Yeah, she
she
did
was
it on
really,
purpose. Like that.
yeah,
And I guess you know what? I'll take back my words. So she had the skill of her mother because like you could see from the jump, her mother had the skill from when she was very young because it was beaten into her by her father. And so I think that she had the same like personality and skill set that her mom had, and especially of the person who I feel, and I guess we'll talk about this as we go along, who was her father. Like she had that vibe. She definitely had that dark vibe, so I take back
yeah,
my words on
and
that.
yeah, and that's and part of it was you could tell there was something else because the way she was just so naturally drawn to the violence, and death, like the way she talked about it, and especially when at one point before she stabbed him, when she just straight up told him, "I'm going to kill you, like you do it, and I'm going to kill you," like where she just whispered it so subtly in the ear, and
Mm-hmm.
you knew it wasn't in jest, like we tell some kid, like you do that, I'm going to kill you, right? You knew it wasn't just her being hyperbolic. It was like, oh shit, like she really, like you always got the feeling she was her mama's daughter.
Definitely.
And so I was like, oh, okay. Um, but yeah, and how do you like, and just kind of since we're the subject, um, I love the realistic way that they handled her mom when she found out. She went through those stages. It was like she was in shock, and then she asked a question like, "Why did you tell me?" And I think her daughter, was it this or something else, where she said, "Would I've had to tell you that I liked boys?"
Yes.
Yeah, and she goes, would I've had to tell you that I liked boys?" And then she was like, and her mom goes, "Well, are you sure you're that way? Are you sure it's not just a phase?" Like, and I felt like, in all honesty, those are very realistic questions that parents would ask,
Yes.
you know. And so I loved how her mom her mom just kind of went to work or went to hang out at the cafe or whatever. She made an excuse to go because she just needed time to process it. And and when she processed it, she was still a little in shock about it. But then I remember when they were got into it again or something, and her daughter goes, "Well, should I have not just told you? Would you like?" And her mother's like, "No, don't you ever hide who you are from anybody. Be who you are. I love you, who no matter who you are." And I was like, okay. And and it was like, and I love that because it's not like you said, based on the way she grew up, I could tell she really tried and she really loved being a mom. And it was like, it seemed like that they were just at that typical mother daughter teenage phase where you have that naturally drifting apart type of thing where teenagers are just going to teenage, and she couldn't figure out how to get through this teenage phase of the mothering game. you
Just,
know
yeah.
because she was I mean, it was funny. She was just frantic about, like, she was just talking to people about, like, the first guy she was going to kill, when she was in Tokyo and she was killing that guy. She was talking to him about her daughter
She was like, let me tell you a story.
story.
It was, and then they told her, she was like, I'm going to give you a fair shot because my daughter said it. So I'm going to give you a fair chance. Let's see
Yeah.
how you do.
And then, her little cougar piece, her little cub piece, she's helping him. She goes, it wasn't even her scene to clean up. And she's there, like, just, lending moral support or whatever. Like, it's like you went to go visit your boo on the job. And she's
She
sitting
had nowhere
there.
to go. She needs to talk to somebody who she could be honest with, and no matter how she acted, she knew she could honestly have a conversation with him and tell him her feelings about what was going on, and not have to like hide that from him.
Yeah, but I mean, but it just seems so natural. It's like, she just sitting here. This motherfucker's cleaning up a dead body. Like, he's cleaning up a whole scene, and she's sitting there talking about her daughter. So I mean, and that's where you could tell that she really, really loved being a mom, and she really loved her daughter, and it was just like, so it just seems so normal, and I love that. So what does that say about me? But yeah, um, so but I loved her circle of friends. I loved the whole little cafe scene where the assassins from the different companies would get together and they would come and they would talk. I guess the dude was a retired assassin who owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would go and they would just talk about the scenes and they would talk about the problems at their job. And at first I'm like, because when they first start mentioning that scenes and cleaning up and the production and all that, I'm like, do they not know what she does? Do they think she's in the news or something? Like, and then you kind of just get that that's what they're talking about. That's okay. They're all in the same business. They actually know who she is, and that's the first time we hear her. We hear her nickname is Gil Boksoon. So I love that because she was a straight up killer. Yeah. Did you like her little friends and the cafe of killers? I don't know what to call them. The kill club. Like, what would you call them?
I mean, like I guess her merry bandits of killers, assassins. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
Lady and the Killers. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
We'll
but I
think of
really didn't
something.
pay attention to them, or they didn't really register in my head until that amazing scene where they ended up deciding to betray her in order to get hired in her company. And that's when I was just like, oh shoot, like no, they're actually like really assassins as well. Because before, when she was talking to him, you would think like you said, she was the only one who was truly an assassin, and the rest of them, they knew what she did because they were maybe in that world, but I just didn't think of along the lines of they were also assassins like her, or that they had the same job as her, thinking they were of that world but not necessarily in the world. And so it wasn't until the psycho sister made that deal with them, and she was like, okay, well, if you're gonna come. And I was like, oh shoot, no, they really, oh, okay, they're really active. Like, these are active assassins. Because I thought they were like the other dude where none of them worked for any company anymore. I didn't realize they were all active except for the dude who owned the cafe.
Oh yeah. Like I think her boyfriend or her cub. I think he worked for her company, but he did work for a company, but he got in trouble because he was freelancing because they wouldn't give him the good jobs. Um, until the psycho sister found out about him freelancing, um, and offered to clean it up for him, but he had to kill Boksoon. So yeah, but I kind of figured it out, like when they were in that first scene that they were in on the cafe, and I was like, okay. And then I realized I forgot what they said. Someone said something. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, and then it was funny because the very first time that you see her and her merry bandits of killers, her friends, the kill club, you would think her and the youngin, you would think that they didn't like each other just from the way they were debating and the way they were going to each other. And then when those people were by her car and they were harassing her, and he came out and he kicked all their asses, and then next thing you know, they're at his little trailer by the beach getting it on. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I was like, I'm not mad at you, girl. I'm not mad at you at all. And then she got up and she just went home like, nah, like I ain't staying the night. Like I got what I needed. Bye. So I was like, okay. But I love that. Um, and that was so you brought it up. That scene in the cafe, that was a terrific scene. It was one of the best fight scenes I've seen in a movie. And that truly gave off the John Wick vibes. It was truly at that point you're like, wow. Because I remember her cub had asked her at one point, "Would you kill me if they told you to?" And she never fully answered the question. You remember that?
Well, yeah,
And and,
but that
and
was
she
true to course.
yeah, and she never fully answered the question, right? Even though you could tell that she cared about him because she did go to the dude and she was like, "You should give him A jobs. You should give him better jobs." You know. Um, but then it was like, okay, so I was surprised that he completely turned on her the way that he did. Like it took nothing.
No,
And
he had to. He had no
really?
choice. So like, because you have to look at the full picture. So I don't think that when he asked that question it was just her personality, she's not going to answer it, but you can see later on based on her other actions that she wouldn't have done it, or she would have leaned towards not doing it or trying to see how she could get around doing it. um but for that, on how the psycho sister was trying to figure out a way to take her down because she was mad at the amount of influence that she had over the brother. um it wasn't because, remember, the psycho sister didn't necessarily first kill him, send him to kill Boksoon. She sent him to do the job that Boksoon refused to do, and in order to say, like, who got more influence over my brother, who has more power in the company, and then she sent him there. But I think it's more of, remember, she found out about his unsanctioned jobs. He was the only one that was taking care of his father, so it was kind of like, if I get killed, which she probably threatened his life, who's going to take care of my dad? If she kills me right hand in here, who's gonna take care of my dad? Like, I gotta take care of my father. She found out about, like, me breaking the rules, which equals death. And so I think he just chose what was best for survival of not just him, but survival for his father, who he was taking care of.
Yeah, I'm about to pull a Tammy. Daddy was on his last legs anyway.
Ah, dang.
But I mean, I get what you're saying, but I mean, I understood, but it's kind of like, and the reason why I say I was surprised he turned on her so thoroughly is because of The Apprentice, because what got her in this situation is she got The Apprentice because of the when I remember. Now you brought it up, like, so this is where the conversation just goes because everything ties in together. Now the psycho sister, whom I really thought was the director, when we were first introduced to them, did you not think they were lovers?
Well, yes, and I think they did that on purpose. I think the director did that on purpose.
The way they were all hugged up on that couch, and because I thought she was his mistress or his side piece who just happened to work at the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way they were all laid up on that couch like that, I'm like, oh damn. And then you didn't really realize that they were brother and sister until they said it. And I'm like, what in the incest is this shit? Like, I was just like, oh goddamn. So yeah, so it was a little. And then when he choked her, when he was choking her, and she was doing that whole breath play, like she was getting off on the shit. I'm like, what in the fuck?
And then she
Like,
kissed him.
hmm I'm like, oh yeah, y'all like, yeah, y'all a little bit too close. So it wouldn't have surprised me if brother and sister had banged off camera. Like, it really would not have.
I so okay, so like I at first that was my thought, right? And then you have to see on like how he acted and what she said afterwards. Oh, now you're thinking I'm crazy. And what makes me think is that he knew that his sister was crazy. And they did have a weird relationship, but I thought part of that was she was obsessed with her brother. And because that was his sister, he just took care of her, but he always knew she was psychotic because when it came to the kissing thing, he automatically pushed her away. It's not like he waited a couple before he pushed her. Like as soon as she kissed him, he pushed her away. So it was kind of like on her end, that was incestuous. On his end, he was like, "Fuck you, psycho! Like I love you because you my sister, but we not like
But see, and I
that."
don't know. I think at that point, I think it was because he was fully back in Gil Boksoon's orbit, and I think that whatever they had before had been rearranged, like his feelings, which had always been there, but I think just because of how close they were becoming again, um, I think they reawakened in him. So I think it was like, yeah, I'm sticking by my original story. I wouldn't be surprised if him and his sister had hit it off camera. I just wouldn't be. But you could tell that Gil Boksoon was the love of his life, and I love the part, and we'll get more in that. But I love the part where we meet Gil's or Boksoon's apprentice or mentee or whatever you want to call her, when she goes to the company and the sister golds her into fighting. And I'm like, she's in her regular clothes, and and she knew, like, Boksoon had an ego, and the sister knew what buttons to push. And I'm like, oh gosh, please don't let her get her ass kicked by this little girl. She didn't break a sweat. Like, it was like not a hair was out of place. And I was like, okay, I loved it. And I loved that, when she went on the job or the scene that she didn't do because she figured out, because the news was on, and she figured out that the real target was his dad, and they were just using the kid as collateral damage to get to hurt his dad. She wouldn't do it.
The
And
dad set the own son up.
yeah. And so I loved when she when they were back in the cafe and the mentee was there with everyone. She heard the exact same conversation. See, I thought that, and this goes back to, oh boy, I thought he was going to make the choice that the mentee did. See, I thought the mentee would play Cub's role and try to kill her, and Cub would take the mentee's place because he it seemed he was in love with her, or he can't. So I just thought the roles would be switched on that part. Um, like they that part didn't play out like I did, but I love the part where she goes at the end. She goes, "You're not trying to kill me." She goes, "No, I figured the survival was better with you. I had a better chance of surviving if I stuck with you."
She was
Because
right.
at first the girl, she was kind of like, it was like she was kind of fighting, but she wasn't fighting. And I'm like, oh, is this like a John Wick traveler thing where the traveler was doing what he could to keep him alive till the money got right? But she was like, nah, I just figured my chances of survival were better with you. So I loved the little mentee girl. I was like, oh. And then I thought, oh. And then I got couple vibes from the mentee, from her intern and her daughter. I'm like, oh, they would make a cute couple.
Until she got stabbed in the neck.
By the director. Okay, so now I think, were you alluding earlier to the director being Boksoon baby daddy?
Yeah,
You think so?
it's a possibility.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he was. But I don't know. But so they had a deal, and what was the deal? Like, he gave her 15 years.
No, the
So when
deal was that if she ever decided to leave, it couldn't be because of her daughter, because that's the reason why he allowed her to have her daughter, so that she couldn't, so that the deal was she could never use her daughter. If he allowed her to have the kid, she could never use her daughter on the reason why she was leaving the company.
okay, so that's why I mean, I'm not. What makes you think he might be the baby daddy? I'm not, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's a very strong possibility. I just want to see if we're on the same page of why he. Besides the obvious that they slept together, but
No, it was just, it was the in when it was the read between the lines conversations and statements that he was making. Um, I also think a very strong thing was that it was never an option for him to kill her daughter in order to keep her in line. Like that was not something that he was looking at. Um, but it was just a little like conversations that they were having. I can't even think off the top of my head like the actual line, but there were a couple. It was two lines that he said, and he never ever said it like, "Oh, because I'm her father." But it was even like when he said, "Well, her dad was a simple guy." And it was how he said it. Like it was deeper than him just being a simple guy. Like it was just things that he said when it
like
came
life
to
was
her.
simpler back then. Like it
Huh?
was easy. Like life was simpler back then. Like he
Yeah, like
wasn't quite
it
the
was like,
director of the company.
yeah,
He
like he
didn't have
wasn't
some.
just saying that the guy was simple, but it was just you could feel there was another message in that statement than just what he was saying on the surface. And so like I just kept thinking like, is he the dad? And he never, like, even when she said something to him and he was just like, well, why don't you tell her about her father or something like that. And I was just like, how he said it, I was just like, are you her father? And you just agreed you would let her keep the kid but you would never be involved in it. Like, and I'm not saying it's a guarantee 100% that he was a dad. I just got the vibe that it was a strong possibility that he was her father. He just
Yeah,
wasn't daddy material in the end, kind of thing.
yeah, I agree with you, and I agree with you, and I think that maybe it was as he rose in the company or whatever, um, like, because what it was it his sister? They were like, who said that she was your weakness, or and I think he didn't want
No, Boksoon was the one that told him.
him that she was his weakness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that she didn't want him. I think he didn't want them, Boksoon and her daughter, Boksoon Jr., we just gonna call her BJ or Junior, to be held against him, or for someone outside. But if you would have come for Boksoon's daughter, I think you would that just would have got you an instant death wish. Like that would in her circles think about how John Wick was the Baba Yaga. Like she was Baba Yaga's apprentice. Like, she was the
Mhm.
Korean version of John Wick. So I don't think too many people would have made that mistake of going after her daughter, except for the psychotic sister. And that's the one thing I hate that we didn't see. I wish we could have seen how she really seen how she took the sister out. Like, because that bitch deserved it. But I mean, I wasn't surprised, but I just wish we could have seen how she took the sister out. Because we see her go to the sister and they have the conversation. And the next time we see the sister, she is dead. And then the bloody knife is being sent to her brother, which basically is if they sent you a bloody knife, it was your challenge to them to come get you. That you were challenging them to more or less an assassin's duel. Did I explain that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it would not surprise me in the least if he had actually turned out to be the baby daddy. But then the thing that got me is, okay, you're if why like the live feed to her daughter, that was fucked up.
The what?
The live feed,
Oh, that was perfection
why do you say it's perfection?
because it hurt more than killing her or her daughter. It hurt more because all she kept thinking was, does she know? Does she know? Because you got to remember, that was the one thing she wanted to keep away from her daughter. Even when her daughter said about her seeing the gun and everything, and she's like, are you part of the CIA? Is that what it is? Like her whole thing was keeping that whole life away. And I'm sure that was the deal that they made, that her daughter was kept away from, protected from that life that she lived. So it's like, it will hurt you, but is very municipal, but to know that for the rest of your life, your daughter knows exactly who you are. It destroys the image that she would have of her mother, just being a
But
regular old soccer mom kind of thing. It was destroying the image of the soccer mom, and I think I was very surprised, but I was just like, oh, I can see why. I can see why.
yeah, but it backfired because I think it gave her more clarity and understanding. Like it answered the questions that she'd had, and I think it also answered the question about herself. Like it helped her understand again once once she got that clarity. Like it helped her understand a little bit more about herself, where that aforementioned darkness comes from. Because when she went back to the school to say goodbye to her friend, I'm like, ooh, is she gonna kill her? Is she gonna kill her right here now? And then when she gives her a hug, she goes, you don't want to say bye to your very best friend? And then she picks her, and then she stands up and she hugs her. She goes, see, I didn't know until this exact moment whether I was going to kill you or kiss you. And I'm like, oh goddamn. And I'm like, yep, you are your mother's daughter. And you could tell she meant that. Like, again, that wasn't her being hyperbolic. She meant that. It was like, oh shit. So, um, but yeah, I loved it. Did you have a favorite character or a favorite scene that we haven't mentioned?
I would just say the fight scene in the cafe when she was fighting all the assassins was a very, very good scene, as well as when she was fighting her protege. So when they were fighting, and you know, she like cuts her. Basically, she would have cut her if she actually had a real knife. And then she was just like, "Oh, okay, we playing that game. Okay, let's end this now." And then she took the cap off of the marker and just right across her neck. Oh, you're dead. And it was just a simple thing. And then got dressed and then left. I think those two scenes were my favorite scenes of the whole entire movie.
Yeah, that was both of them were perfection. It was like because I'm with you when she was like, "Oh, you be cut," and she's like, "Oh, okay, you may have cut me, but I'm about to fuck up your artery. You about to bleed all the way out." So, but yeah, um, I I would love to see. Um, do you think there should be a part two?
Yes.
I do too. Do you think it should be based on Gil Boksoon or her daughter or both?
No, not her daughter at all. the one of the best things about the movie is that it really was her daughter completely staying out of her life, and I think that should continue. Bringing the daughter in just, I think it messes up what made the movie so good on the separation of her personal life with her professional life. Now her daughter knowing, yeah, great, but I would still push for her daughter to live her life normally. So it would have to be on Kill Boksoon. She made her reputation. Now she got to deal with the fallout of killing the leader.
Okay, I can see that. I could see either or. I think if they did it set in present day, I think that it should definitely be Boksoon should be the focus, and like you said, probably based on the fallout. I could also see you doing a fast forward a few years and giving her a fully grown daughter and seeing how what life her daughter chose. If that were the case, someone may be killing her mom and she gets activated or what have you, but I would also love to see, not necessarily a movie. I think what would be more interesting would probably be a prequel series to see how Boksoon became Boksoon, because those flashbacks, they were bits of perfection, and they left you with so many questions. Like, um, one of the scenes, and I think this was also one of my favorite scenes, is when she walks in on the director. He's not the director at the time, about to kill her father, and and she was like, damn it, I should have stayed in math or whatever class she was skipping. And then they have that conversation, and he's like, well, you've seen my face, and and then she's like, fuck, I'm tired of this, and she just pushes the chair or the ottoman or whatever from underneath her father, and she goes, now you've seen my face, now you have to lie for me. And I'm like, oh shit. And so I think I would love to just see a prequel series. Um, and I think that would be that if they did a prequel, I think it would be better served as a series, like just to see her, and maybe we would get an idea of who the baby daddy was. But I think this franchise just has so many different options because it was just that good. Would you go for a prequel series?
No.
No? All
No,
right.
I think keep the movie series, got like just like what you call it, John Wick, but still have the flashbacks as you slowly learn more about her in the background, but not a prequel. I wouldn't go for a prequel.
I think a prequel would be really, really interesting. Okay, cool. Um, so what are you rating this? What are you rating Killboxing?
I'm gonna rate Kill Soon 4 stars. 4 stars. Four popcorns. I really, really enjoyed it. It kept the action up and it gave me a feel of John Wick. And I love John Wick. I think John Wick is one of the best movie action series about basically what you would call to be an assassin. So yeah, so 4 popcorns. What about you?
Um, gosh, I think we're in agreement again. I'm giving it 4 popcorns as well. I agree. It was giving John Wick all over the place. With female protagonist, and like I said, I love a good kick-ass female protagonist. And I love that. I love that she was older. I love that she was in her bag, and I love things that just show women. Um, being kick-ass women, and I love that she was a strong woman, an independent woman. I love the fact that she was a single mom, and I just love the nuance and the way they told the story. So I would highly recommend Kill Boxing to anyone who loves the action, and who has a good stomach for action, and some gratuitous violence, but like I said, if you're a John Wick fan, I think you would be a fan of Kill Boksoon, and I hope that we get to see more Boksoon. I would love it if we did. So, I guess that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wineout. Please be sure to like, listen, follow, and comment anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwinedown.com. That's it. That's the plug.
Pop,
Pop,
pop, pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop, pop.
pop. And thank you as always. And be sure to join us next week when we talk Netflix's The Night Agent. And spoiler alert, it took Netflix 6 days to renew The Night Agent. So we're going to see, was it worth this fast renewal? And that is like light years. That is like super quick turnaround for Netflix. It could take them 6 years to renew some shit.
For
So
sure.
was The Night Agent worth the quick renewal? Tune in next week and find out. Until then, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.